I'm not Nelly, but I'd say it's getting hot in here. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Commanders Hot Takes. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and I am so excited for another week of the Hot Takes. We are here to talk about everything involving the Washington Commanders. And on these days where we get this series out, we talk about some of the scorching feelings that are permeating throughout the fan base. What do I think is the most realistic? What do I think is a cold take? What am I going to rank in the order of likelihood, the order of believability? All of that, guys, we're going to get into my 5 biggest hot takes for this week. Heading out of week 3, going into week 4 with the matchup against the Atlanta Falcons on the horizon. Now, to explain this series, because I feel as if there's been some confusion, specifically after the last episode, you see a bar with a thermometer on the side. If that bar is low, if the temperature is low, it's a cold take, one that I don't agree with. We're going to work all the way up to the scorching hot takes where I'm fully bought into that. The first one we ever had of those was Deebo Samuel was going to lead the league or lead the team in total yards. Lead the league in total yards would be pretty crazy. Lead the team in total yards, and I'm feeling really good about that one, considering Jaden already missed a game, considering Terry looks like he might be missing a game and hasn't had a great start. We are going to get into this upcoming week's hot takes, guys. But before we do, make sure you do hit the like button if you appreciate the videos, if you appreciate the daily uploads. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you are new around here. And please, as we go through the hot takes, leave me your comments, leave me your thoughts on all of the takes, or if any one of them in particular stands out to you, leave me your thoughts and suggestions on ones that I might have missed. Now, a quick 30 seconds before we do get to the hot takes, we have an update on Terry McLaurin's injury. According to Ian Rappaport, he said that his understanding of the situation is Terry has a hip flexor injury, which is what I predicted when I made my video yesterday. I said I think the quad injury was a catch-all term. He saw a groin, or not a groin, he saw a core specialist and it discussed as a possible groin injury. I said, ultimately, it sounds to me like this is some sort of hip flexor strain. That makes sense when you think about him stretching out for the goal line in an uncomfortable position. That is yet to be confirmed, but that is the latest report from Ian Rappaport, whose name is very fitting for his job. It's almost Ian Rappaport. I feel like he missed a marketing opportunity, a branding opportunity there. But with that out of the way, let's move on over and let's talk about the hot takes for this week. Number 1.
Ben Sinnott saved his job.
Okay, so we're starting off with a cold take, which means this is lower on the scale of believability. With that being said, he absolutely did the best thing possible last week. My hottest take from last week was Ben Sinnott's job was on the line. So I feel it's only appropriate to come back and say, well, where are we with our update on that? I think Sinnott played a good game. DQ said that it was the most he's played, and it was also the best he's played. Now, it's not actually the most. The most he played was last year against New Orleans, but second most. We can go with that. I think he played 33 snaps in this game, and he was good. He didn't catch a ball, but he was very influential in the running game. And one thing that I noticed in particular, Pro Football Focus said he was the 3rd highest graded run blocker the Commanders had. Only Chris Paul and Tyler Biadasz were ahead of him. One thing that I've noticed, I really enjoyed watching the film, is the speed at which he got to his blocks, particularly those on the second level. Because Zach Ertz, John Bates, Colson Yankoff, everybody can throw in a little chip. When you're lining up in line right next to your tackle, you get a little chip before you release on your route. Anybody can do that. Some can do it better than others, sure, but it is right there for you. There's not a whole lot to think about. When you're talking about getting up to the second level, identifying who the correct blocker is, getting to them, being in position and executing the block, that's a lot of steps, and it's difficult. It's the NFL. Like, these are professional football players. The members of the linebacking core, the secondary, whoever he's getting up there to block, they practice this. They know how to defeat those blocks. They watch film. They know who's coming. Sinnott's speed at getting there was so different to watching John Bates or Zach Ertz. And Bates is a better blocker, okay? Don't let me mislead you here. And there was a difference between being fast and playing fast. But this was really one of the first times in Sinnott's career where I felt like throughout the game, I didn't notice any lapses, and I did feel the marriage between playing fast and being fast. You saw the production in the blocking game, or for him, the blocking game from overall the running game, married with his athletic potential. There was one play up the left side. I think it was on a Mariota run where Sinnott got out there so fast. He looked like a receiver getting down the field. He gets to the member of the secondary who is in not pursuit, but he has the angle to tackle Mariota, and he's kind of going over to meet him. And not only does Sinnott get up there and put hands on him, but he makes sure he loops around to the left so that he's blocking him inside to clear up the boundary for Mariota to run to. And it's those little nuances which are the key aspects of blocking. Also, I did a breakdown. I put out a YouTube short of a read option GT counter, which is the play where Mariota fumbled on the second possession of the game. It was a great design. It was really cool to break down. Check that out. Again, it's one of the shorts I published here. Also on my Instagram and TikTok. I made a TikTok last week to showcase some clips. Whatever. You guys subscribe to me here. You can find it on YouTube. But point being, you see Ben Sinnott on that play. He gets an arc block going around Max Crosby and working up to the outside. The scheme it did such a brilliant job of freezing Max Crosby, but it meant that you had Colson Yankoff and Ben Sinnott pouring into the secondary, and they got there so fast. And it's really noticeable. And when we think about DQ spending the whole offseason talking about wanting to get more gap scheme runs, and we see the speed and the elusiveness of Bill Croskey-Merritt, we see the agility, the lateral agility of Josh Connerly Jr., this whole running game, everything just seems so much faster. So I can't say Ben Sinnott saved his job because he unequivocally did not. But he played a very good game, and I am excited to see him against the Falcons.
No Terry, no problem.
All right. Let's settle down. If you run the ball like you did last week, if you get stops, everybody's going to look great. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is, doesn't matter who the running back is, who the receiver is, everything works great. Now, it specifically eases the job of the players in the passing game because you don't got to move the ball through the air. The running game's dominating. You're winning time of possession. You're getting stops on the other end. You don't have to throw the ball. The running game has been a little erratic, okay? If we're going to look at this fairly, Bill was excellent in week 1, but it seemed like they didn't really want to give him the ball early on. They did later, and he had the big explosive runs. Then you go to Green Bay, and the running game is totally non-existent. Then you go to the Raiders game, and they dominate. Rodriguez dominates. Croskey-Merritt dominates. McNichols dominates. Mariota dominates. It's all great. So I'm waiting to see what is the actual baseline for this team. Now, I think the Commanders do have a good running game overall, but I want to see, is it the best in the league? Because when it is the best in the league, you can look really good with lesser receivers, with a lesser quarterback. If it's like the 9th best running game, no, you still need a quarterback. You do still need some receivers. Now, losing Terry might not be an issue against the Falcons, okay? It might not be an issue on several games on the schedule. Mariota could have big games, or when Jaden comes back, I think he's playing this weekend, but if he does, if he doesn't, if it takes a week, whatever, they could still have big games without Terry McLaurin. But number one, it's the combination of losing Terry and Noah Brown, who looks like he also might not be playing this weekend, wasn't practicing yesterday. It's the combination of missing those two at the same time with also, we have to remember what the standard is. The Commanders went 12-5 last year. So when we talk about them winning a one-off against the Falcons without Terry, yeah, maybe they can do that, but that's not really the goal. That's not really the standard. The standard is getting back to 12-5 or at least near it, getting back to the NFC Championship game or at least near it. And look, when you're going against a team that is good, like when you're going against a high caliber team, it doesn't have to be Terry McLaurin specifically, but you need a number one receiver. It could be Garrett Wilson. It could be Jamar Chase. It could be Tyreek Hill. It could be Mike Evans. It could be Devontae Adams. It could be Puka Nacua. Whoever it is, you need a number one receiver to continually win those high leverage games. If you do not have one, you are setting yourself significantly behind the 8 ball. Now, look, there's a lot of people I've seen in the comments who say they're excited about the potential opportunities for the young players, the Jaylin Lanes, the Luke McCaffreys. I'm excited too. I like those guys. But here's what I'm going to say. Through the first 3 weeks of football, Jaylin Lane is one of the least efficient receivers in the entire NFL. He's had some drops. His yards per route run is awful. His catch rate is terrible. And I love Jaylin Lane. I think he's got a ton of potential. I'm a Hokie as well, so I saw what he did down there. We all saw the punt return last week. Potential sky high. But where is he at right now? He's been really bad as a receiver through the first 3 weeks. Luke McCaffrey has barely been able to get on the field. And I loved seeing the touchdown last week just as much as anybody. And I'm not giving up on Luke. But let's be honest. Jeremy Chin completely busted that coverage. Okay, and he wants to talk a bunch of smack about the Commanders. Well, hey, Chin, if you didn't do things like that, maybe you'd still be here. But he busted the coverage. It was an obvious running situation, which made it so confusing for the defense. The Commanders would throw it there, but they were sinking down towards the line. The game was basically already over at that point. And Luke didn't really have to beat anybody. He didn't really have to break any tackles. He just kind of caught the pass and ran into the end zone. So I'm happy for Luke. But let's not act like that proves that he can consistently win outside the numbers against top defenses. And the Falcons, as of right now, statistically, have a top 5 defense in the NFL. I don't think it'll finish that way at the end of the season, but through 3 weeks, that's what they have. So again, can you beat the Falcons without Terry? Yeah, you can. But it's a combination of Terry and Noah being injured with looking at what your main goal is to win a lot of games, to make a deep playoff run. You need a number 1 receiver. So I'm going to leave this as a cold take. And again, it has very little to do with Terry, more so just the absence of a number 1.
Daron Payne will be back in 2026.
Coming into this year, I would have said no chance. Daron Payne has been outstanding. He has been sensational, phenomenal. Any synonym like it you can think of, he has been that. He has been him, as they would say. He's making $26.2 million this year. At least that's his cap hit. You can cut him for $11.2 million after this year if you don't trade him. Or you can keep him for $28 million against the cap, which is a lot, but it is basically what he's on right now. So let's not really, it's an extra $1.8 million. Let's not really think of it as a change, though. Let's not think of it as a raise, because for all intents and purposes, it is basically the same. It's effectively keep Daron Payne for another year on what he's making this year, or cut him for $11.2 million, like I said, if you don't trade him. Now, if you do keep him next year, he'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2027 as a 30-year-old. A quick stat dump on what Daron Payne has done so far this season. And you've got some bad offensive lines in there. Okay, the Giants do not have a good offensive line. The Raiders look like they might have the worst offensive line in football. But Daron Payne so far this season, among interior defensive linemen, he has 11 pressures, that ranks 5th. He has 2 sacks, that is tied for 2nd. He has 2 batted balls, that is tied for 2nd. He has 8 solo tackles, which is 8th. And he has 8 run stops, which is 3rd. The Commanders as a whole are 1st in 3rd down defense. They're 2nd in pressure percentage, and they are 8th in yards allowed per carry at just 3.7. That's despite facing some good running backs. Scatterbo only got 2 carries in week 1, so I'll give them that. But Tyrone Tracy's still solid. And then you go against Ashton Genty, who I get it, like his raw rushing yards, not good. He leads the NFL in attempts per broken tackle. He leads the NFL in missed tackles force. He individually is doing a very good job. It's his line that is letting him down. And then against the Packers and Josh Jacobs, despite how much Green Bay's offense dominated that game, despite the time of possession, despite them having all the momentum, Josh Jacobs, who's a very good running back, averaged 3.7 yards on something like 22 or 23 carries. That high volume, and the Commanders were able to keep him corralled. So Daron Payne has been right at the center of this, and Javon Kinlaw has been much better than most people expected. They've been the team has been able to generate pressure off the outside or off the edges. A lot of people have stepped up and exceeded expectations, but I feel like if I'm to name one particular standout, Daron Payne has been right at the center of that. And it's a contract year. It's not actually, like I said, they can still keep him, but they do have a potential out, which means that the onus is on him to perform. It always should be if you're an NFL player making tens of millions of dollars, but in this situation specifically, it is on him. And we saw Daron Payne get the 11 sacks in his first contract year, the first time around. And that got him the 2nd highest contract for a defensive tackle in the NFL, only behind Aaron Donald. So I think internally, we probably as a fan base have some reservations, say, oh, we've seen this movie before. But I just have to say, he has been outstanding. And if he can play like this for the entire season, he will be back. That's what I'm going to say. I don't know if he'll keep it up, but it is a situation to monitor, which is why I'm going to leave it right in the middle as far as the cold to hot scale.
Bill's breakout is coming.
Bill this season has 22 carries for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Through 3 games, not exactly lighting the world on fire, if you were just to look at that. Look at his ESPN box score, his stats. When you watch him play, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how a 0-star high school recruit who spent 4 years at Alabama State and was terrible in all 4 of those years, goes to New Mexico, has a good year, transfers to Arizona, plays one game, is ruled ineligible, barely gets drafted, probably only gets drafted because he has a good performance at the Shrine Bowl, gets taken in the 7th round, had very few teams contact him or speak to him during the pre-draft process. I don't know how this has happened, that he is a special player, but he is special. And I'm saying that. This is the second hottest take of the week, only because I really believe in number one. But I am fully expecting the Bill Croskey-Merritt breakout to happen. The eruption in front of the entire world. It's coming. He's still Pro Football Focus's highest graded rusher in the NFL. He is 7th in yards after contact per carry amongst qualified backs with at least 20 carries. He is 7th in attempts per broken tackle. When you watch him, he will turn a 2-yard loss into a 6-yard gain. He will turn a 5-yard gain into a 9-yard gain. I know his numbers aren't incredible. I get it. His raw numbers, the advanced metrics love him. The raw numbers don't look amazing. When you watch him play, his vision, the play where he's dead to rights in the backfield, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, he wiggles up to the right, dances around Max Crosby, completely circles back, goes left, finds a hole, and then carries a pile for 4 yards. Again, it's just a 4-yard carry, but when you watch it happen, it's like, how did he do that? It's a magic trick. And I can attribute it to kind of his erratic running style. And I say that complimentary because his legs are flying in all different directions. He almost looks like a cartoon character. But despite that, he's strong, he's fast, he's patient. You know how I was talking about with Ben Sinnott, there's a difference between playing fast and being fast. Croskey-Merritt has the speed, but he's so patient. He waits for his blocks to set up and read them, or if they don't set up, well, he's still in control of his body enough to work to the open space on the field. I mean, genuinely, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, but when he passes the eye test and the advanced stats test in ways that so many running backs do not. The sky is the limit for this kid. And I don't know. A matter of fact, he'll probably never get to the stats. I shouldn't say never, but in the near future, he probably won't get the stats that your Christian McCaffreys, your Bijan Robinsons, all those guys have, because the Commanders can run the ball so effectively with Jaden Daniels. And they do have Chris Rodriguez Jr. They had Austin Eckler. I would assume at the end of the year, when McNichols is out of contract, Eckler's out of contract, they're going to assume they're going to bring in another running back. They've got weapons. They've got Debo. They can split. They've got people that they can give the ball to other than Bill. But if you were to just funnel everything through him, he could be an 80, 90, 100-yard rusher per week sort of guy. He makes guys miss in a phone booth. He's strong. He's relentless. He's fast. He's patient. He's got the vision. The breakout's coming. There's one of these days he's going to get a 50-yard run in the first quarter, or maybe it's going to be like a 20 and then a 15 and then a 25, and the Commanders will say, well, we're just giving 22 carries to Bill today. And he's going to go for 130 yards, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. That day is coming. I don't know if it's happening this week. I don't know if it's happening next week or the week after, but the day is coming. It's all gonna depend on him getting the volume to actually go out there and do it. But man, this guy misses tackles in a way that has me rewinding games every time I watch him. Magee or Mikey, choose one. So this sounds like an ultimatum, and let me clarify what I mean by this. I said throughout the entire offseason, throughout the entire preseason, heck, I've even said it in the first couple of weeks, I love Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner has been one of the Commanders' 3 best players this season, and that might be underselling him. He has been excellent. I love Frankie Luvu. Had a bad start to the year, was really good in week 3, still believe in him as a player. I love those 2 players. They are not the right fits to handle Bijan Robinson. Now, here's what I mean by that. If Bijan's going to stay between the tackles, perfect. Let Bobby get his hands on him. He will get him on the ground. Bijan's going to make essentially every single first man miss in the entire NFL. Bobby Wagner, between the numbers, between the hashes, that's one guy who's not letting him go. I think he is perfect for that job. When it comes to stretching the field, getting outside the tackles, releasing on a block and then receiving a pass, lining up an empty, no. I don't want to see Bobby Wagner. I don't want to see Frankie Luvu anywhere near Bijan Robinson. And one day when K. Medrano has developed as a tackler, maybe I would be putting him in there. But we know right now, despite his athletic promise, tackling is an issue for him, the fundamentals. So K. Medrano's been inactive the first 3 weeks of the season. I don't want to see him in this game either. I want to see Mike Sainristil, or I want to see Jordan Magee, and I want them to be draped on Bijan Robinson like white on rice. The biggest problem with Bijan is not his ability to run the ball up the middle, which he can do extremely well. He's an incredible player. Probably, as far as where he's at right now, probably the most talented player, most talented running back in the NFL. Not to take away from what Saquon has done, what Christian McCaffrey has done, but when we're talking about right now, the variety, the pass catching, the route running, the running up the middle, the running outside, the patience, the speed, the strength, the power, all of that. Bijan is that guy. When he's getting to the outside, when he's receiving, you need speed. You need someone who's going to close him down fast, and you need somebody who's going to be right up in his grill so that he can't take those 2 to 3 steps to work up speed and then shake past that defender. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Mike Sainristil. I don't know if it's going to be Jordan Magee. I get it. Magee's barely played this season. I get it. Sainristil is a corner. But if we're going to play nickel, the Commanders are going to play nickel, you need somebody right there up in his grill. You need speed. You cannot let Bobby Wagner or Frankie Louvu get dragged out into the flat with the, let's say the corner you're playing man coverage. The corner's been taken out. You've got Quan Martin as your post, deep middle field safety. You got man coverage on Bijan Robinson, and he releases off from the flat, catches the ball, turns his head, and it's just Frankie Louvu in front of him with 30 yards of space behind that. That's a loss. Luvu's going to miss that tackle, and this is not an attack on Louvu. This is complimenting Bijan Robinson, who can make any first man in the NFL miss their tackle. He's going to do that, and he's got nothing but green space in front of him. Now, what is this going to look like? Well, if you have to go, let's say it's Mike Sainristil, because I would love to see Jordan Magee, but him barely playing this year probably tells me he's not going to play. So I think Sainristil is probably going to be the guy who has a high Bijan Robinson usage. He's going to be on him a lot. So that means you're going to be working out a nickel, even dime, but probably nickel an awful lot. The Commanders this season are 10th in light box percentage on defense. A light box is 6 or fewer players in the box. And you're going to need to live a nickel, like I said, if Sainristil is going to be the guy who's going to be keeping eyes on Bijan. Now, the Falcons, despite having a great running game, are only 17th in yards per carry against light boxes. They still average 5 yards per carry on those plays, but below league average as far as their effectiveness in those situations. This is where it gets big. The Falcons are second in the NFL in yards per pass play to backfield targets. They average something like 9.5 yards per pass to the backfield target, which is a huge testament to Bijan. And of course, Tyler Algier. Let's not leave him out of this. The Commanders are 10th in yards allowed per pass play to backfield targets. Remember I said the Falcons were averaging 9.5 yards on those plays. The Commanders give up just 3.8 yards on those plays. So get someone who's fast to stick to him, slow him down, do not let him get a big build up a head of steam, and then gang tackling, bring in the cavalry. I would love to see Louvu. I would love to see Wagner as the second guy there, but get some speed on him, get him corralled, and then get the sure hands on there to get him on the ground. So Magee or Mikey, choose one. That's the hottest take of the week. I think that plays a massive role in determining if the Commanders defense can stop the Falcons offense. And yeah, that's going to do it for the hot takes this week, guys. Make sure you go to the comment section, leave me your thoughts on everything I said here. Hit the like button again if you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, like I said before. And as I always say, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.